Hello everyone. Good morning from Perth, where I'm located, and it's probably good evening and many other times around the world for the people joining this call. I'm Martin Rowley, the Non-Executive Chairman of Orocobre Limited, and I will chair today's meeting for you. On behalf of my fellow directors, welcome to the 2021 Annual General Meeting of Orocobre Limited. This is the first meeting of shareholders since the very successful merger with Galaxy Resources Limited, which was completed and became effective on 25 August this year. We will put to you today a resolution to change the name of the merged company to Orocobre Limited, which we believe better represents our future as a lithium chemical producer and our commitment to all of our stakeholders. After the merger of Orocobre and Galaxy, Orocobre has a world-class portfolio of lithium assets, both hard rock and brine, that we plan to grow and develop to be a top 5 lithium chemicals company. Today's meeting is being held online by the Lumi platform. This allows shareholders, proxy holders, representatives and guests to attend the meeting virtually. All attendees can watch a live webcast of the meeting. In addition, shareholders, proxy holders and representatives have the ability to ask questions and submit their votes. If anyone attending the meeting online experiences any issues or requires any assistance in relation to the online platform, they should call the telephone support line on International 61, which is Australia, 39415 4024. I'll repeat that. That's +61 39415 4024. If technical issues arise with the webcast which result in a number of members being unable to participate, and I do not believe it is reasonable in the circumstances to proceed with the meeting, I will adjourn the meeting until the problem is fixed. If the meeting is adjourned and we will upload notification of the adjournment onto the ASX platform and the Orocobre website at www.orocobre.com. We'll also provide details on those sites about when the adjourned meeting will be reconvened. I now call this meeting to order. I confirm that a quorum is present and now formally declare the meeting open. I thank everyone for your attendance today, and I extend a warm welcome to all our retail and institutional shareholders and any others who have joined the meeting. Our CEO, Martin Perez de Solay, plus I know 2 other directors, Rob Hubbard and Richard Seville, are on the call. Our CFO, Neil Kaplan, and Joint Company Secretaries, excuse me, John Sanders and Rick Anthon are also in attendance. Representatives from the company's auditor, Ernst & Young, are present and will be available to answer questions on the financial statements. Our share registry, Computershare, is represented today by Mr. Lewis Brimlow. To enable shareholders to consider the business of today's meeting, a notice of meeting was made available to all shareholders via Orocobre's website and the ASX announcements platform. I will take the notice as being read. Before proceeding further, I advise that we have received 1,522 proxies, totaling 330,014,985 votes for this meeting. Where a proxy vote has been given to the chairman of the meeting without instructions, I intend to vote in favour of each resolution. Ladies and gentlemen, I now turn to the formal matters to be considered today. Voting on all resolutions will be conducted via a poll and facilitated on the Lumi platform. Shortly, I'll outline the procedure for the poll and then run through each of the resolutions to be voted on today. The wording of each resolution and the proxy votes which have been submitted for each resolution will be shown on the screen. I will take questions on each resolution from shareholders or their representative. Questions should relate to that resolution being voted upon. Any opportunity for general questions will be available following the formal business of the meeting. When I open the questions, if you wish to ask a question or make a comment on a resolution, it would be appreciated if you could state your name and indicate whether you are speaking on behalf of your own shareholding or whether you are speaking as a representative for another shareholder. When voting on the resolutions is complete, I will close the meeting. The results of the poll will be published via a release made to the ASX and which will also be available on the company's website. I appoint Lewis Brimlow from Computershare as the returning officer. At the conclusion of the formal part of the meeting, our Managing Director and CEO will make a presentation on behalf of the board, following which there will be a further opportunity for questions. As I indicated earlier, voting will be conducted by way of a poll via the Lumi platform. I will now explain the procedure for the poll to be conducted on the resolutions. The people entitled to ask questions and vote on the poll are any shareholders, representatives and attorneys of shareholders and proxy holders. Online attendees can submit questions at any time. To ask a question, select the messaging tab at the top of the Lumi platform. At the top of that tab, there is a section for you to type your question. Once you have finished typing, please hit the arrow symbol to send. Please note that while you can submit questions from now on, I will not address them until the relevant time in the meeting. Please also note that your questions may be moderated or, if we receive multiple questions on one topic, amalgamated together. For those shareholders who wish to ask a verbal question, an audio questions facility is available during this meeting. To use this service, please pause the broadcast on the Lumi platform and then click on the link under Asking Audio Questions. A new page will open where you will be prompted to enter your name and the topic of your question before being connected. You will listen to the meeting on this page while waiting to ask your question. If you have any issues using this system, please return to the Lumi platform. Finally, due to time constraints, we may not get to answer all of your questions. If this happens, our investor relations team will answer them after the meeting. Voting today will be conducted by way of a poll on all items of business. In order to provide you with enough time to vote, I will shortly open voting for all resolutions. If you're eligible to vote at this meeting, a new voting tab will appear. Selecting this tab will bring up a list of resolutions and present you with voting options. To cast your vote, simply select one of the options. There is no need to hit a submit or enter button, as the vote is automatically recorded. You do, however, have the ability to change your vote up until the time I declare voting closed. I now declare voting open on all items of business. The voting tab will soon appear. Please submit your votes at any time. I will give you a warning before I move to close voting. The first item of business deals with the financial statements and reports. These have been forwarded to shareholders who requested them and are now presented to the meeting. These financial statements and reports are for the financial year ended 30 June 2021. This is not a resolution. As I have advised, representatives from the company's auditors are present today to answer any questions shareholders may wish to direct to them in relation to the conduct of their audit or in relation to the preparation of the financial statements. I now invite questions and comments on the financial statements and reports. Are there any questions? As there are no questions, I turn to the resolutions to be considered. Resolution 1 is adoption of the remuneration report. This resolution asks shareholders to adopt the company's remuneration report for the year ended 30 June 2021. The remuneration report is contained on pages 21 to 37 of the annual report that has been made available to shareholders. I refer you to the screen for details of the proxies received for this resolution. I note that there is a material against vote for this resolution. I would like to comment on this. In today's environment, people are the most important asset of any organisation. Paying these people adequately so they perform to their highest ability and, most importantly, want to remain working for that organisation is critical. We use external remuneration consultants to ensure that the packages that our executives receive, both short and long term and in cash and equity components, align with industry standards and shareholder returns. It is certainly not in the shareholders' interest to have a high turnover of staff. It is therefore disappointing that some proxy advisors advised to vote against the remuneration report simply because it may not exactly fit their criteria, which often don't match the practical requirements of maintaining a stable management team in multiple jurisdictions. While this is a non-binding advisory vote of shareholders, the views and comments of shareholders will, however, certainly be taken into account by directors when further considering remuneration matters. A note of the voting exclusion applies to this resolution as set out in the notice of meeting. Are there any questions or comments on this resolution? Okay, there being no questions, I put the resolution to the meeting. If you haven't already done so, please now cast your vote on this item. Okay, the next resolution is the change of company name from Orocobre Limited to Orocobre Limited. Approval is sought by special resolution, which requires approval by at least 75% of the votes cast by members entitled to vote on the resolution. I refer you to the screen for details of the proxies received for this resolution. Are there any questions or comments on this resolution? There being no questions, I put the resolution to the meeting. If you haven't already done so, please now cast your vote on this item. As the next item of business relates to me, I pass the chair to our Deputy Chairman, Mr. Robert Hubbard. Rob.
Thank you, Martin, and good morning, everybody. The next resolution is the election of Martin Rowley as a director. Detail of Mr. Rowley's qualifications and experience are set out in the notice of meeting. I refer you to the screen for details of the proxies received for this resolution. Are there any questions or comments on this resolution? No, there being no questions, I put the resolution to the meeting. If you haven't already done so, please now cast your vote on this item. I now invite Martin to resume the chair.
Thanks, Rob. The next resolution is the election of Florencia HERDIA as a director. Details of Ms. HERDIA's qualifications and experience are set out in the notice of meeting. I refer you to the screen for details of the proxies received for this resolution. Are they coming up? Not there? Are they there, Rob? The next,
yeah, they're on the screen. They're on the screen.
They're on the screen. Okay. Are there any questions or comments on this resolution? There being no questions, I put the resolution to the meeting. If you haven't already done so, please now cast your vote on this item. The next resolution is the election of John Turner as a director. Details of Mr. Turner's qualifications and experience are set out in the notice of meeting. I refer to the screen for details of the proxies received for this resolution. You need to put them up somewhere or other. Are there any questions or comments on this resolution? There being no questions, I put the resolution to the meeting. If you haven't already done so, please now cast your vote on this item. The next resolution is the election of Alan Fitzpatrick as a director. Details of Mr. Fitzpatrick's qualifications and experience are set out in the notice of meeting. I refer you to the screen for details of the proxies received for this resolution. Are there any questions or comments on this resolution? There being no questions, I put the resolution to the meeting. If you haven't already done so, please now cast your vote on this item. Is it okay? The next resolution is the increase to non-executive directors' remuneration, details of which are set out in the notice of meeting. I refer you to the screen for details of the proxies received for this resolution. I note that a voting exclusion applies to this resolution as set out in the notice of meeting. Are there any questions or comments on this resolution? There being no questions, I put the resolution to the meeting. If you haven't already done so, please now cast your vote on this item. The next resolution is the grant of short-term performance rights to the CEO and Managing Director under the company's performance rights and options plan. I refer you to the screen for details of the proxies received for this resolution. I note that a voting exclusion applies to this resolution as set out in the notice of meeting. Are there any questions or comments on this resolution? There being no questions, I put the resolution to the meeting. If you haven't already done so, please now cast your vote on this item. The next resolution is the grant of long-term incentive performance rights to the CEO and Managing Director under the company's performance rights and options plan. I refer you to the screen for details of the proxies received for this resolution. I note that a voting exclusion applies to this resolution as set out in the notice of meeting. Are there any questions or comments on this resolution? There being no questions, I put the resolution to the meeting. If you haven't already done so, please now cast your vote on this item. Final resolution is the grant of merger completion performance rights to the CEO and Managing Director under the company's performance rights and options plan. I refer you to the screen for details of the proxies received for this resolution. I note that a voting exclusion applies to this resolution as set out in the notice of meeting. Are there any questions or comments on this resolution? If you haven't already done, there being no questions, I put the resolution to the meeting. If you haven't already done so, please now cast your vote on this item and any others on which you are yet to vote, as I will shortly close the poll. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the formal part of the meeting and the resolutions to be presented for the meeting. Please finalise your votes and note there is no need to hit a submit or enter button as the vote is automatically recorded. Ladies and gentlemen, I now declare the poll closed and formally charge Mr. Lewis Brimlow as returning officer to count the votes. As noted earlier, details of the final results will be posted on both the company's website and on the ASX company announcement platform later today. I would like to thank you all for your attendance and participation, and I now formally declare the meeting closed. Martin will now give a presentation, following which there will be an opportunity for questions.
Thank you very much, Martin, and welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us at our annual general meeting for 2021. I am pleased to provide an update of our operations, development assets, and our progress since the merger with Galaxy Resources. Firstly, taking a quick look at the overall business, you can see we are in a strong financial position with 423 million in cash, low levels of debt, and strong institutional shareholders. We are well placed to deliver on our short-term milestones, enhance our cash flow generation, and utilize this position of strength to achieve our longer-term objective across the portfolio. Since the merger with Galaxy, integration is largely complete, and we have built muscle around each asset to allow us to deliver a positive result from our operations, deliver our near-term development projects, and advance our growth assets. We have an unparalleled development profile of spodumene and brine assets, as well as additional lithium hydroxide processing opportunities. With diversification across development, locations, and product type, we have the scale and flexibility to meet market demand and customer preferences as the world transitions to a net zero economy. We are currently undertaking a strategic detailed review of each of the assets and business, and we have already made progress, which I will explore throughout the presentation. As we aim to create a leading global lithium chemical business, our success is measured by our core goals that underpin every area. While sustainability is the first of our key goals, I will come back to it in a moment. A focus on product quality and cost leadership has seen us steadily improve product quality at OLAROZ. In line with customer requirements in financial year 21, we reduced our year-on-year costs by 13% and increased sales by 27%, while increasing the proportion of battery-grade lithium carbonate production. We have been working closely with our customers since the start of our operations and will continue to do this as we expand our customer profile alongside our growth pipeline. Post-merger, we are now focused on a number of key growth drivers, including the delivery of projects in Argentina, marketing synergies to expand our customer relationships, strategic planning and optimization to deliver our growth pipeline, and determining optimal funding solutions utilizing our strong cash financial position and 2 cash flow generating operations. Our future milestones include the commissioning of the Naraha and OLAROZ Stage 2 in 2022, initiation of construction of Sal de Vida Stage 1, and a communication of a detailed strategic plan for our growth project is expected by early calendar year 22, including our development pathway for subsequent stages of Naraha, OLAROZ, Sal de Vida, and James Bay. As we work on delivering these milestones, it is important that we continue to maintain performance at our operations in Australia and Argentina. I said before, sustainability is a core focus of the business. And so we aim to deliver long-term value to all our stakeholders, including our people, shareholders, customers, and suppliers. We have steadily advanced our sustainability performance over the years and are pleased to be included in the Dow Jones Sustainability Indices Australia Index again. As of November 12th, we performed on the 86th percentile in the metals and mining industry in the S&P Global Corporate Sustainability Assessment. In the last financial year, we reduced our long-term incident frequency rate and the TRIFR at our operations, and in the September quarter, the merged entity continued to see improved safety performance. Creating shareholder value for our operations defines the way we operate, and we have recently completed our community infrastructure program near the OLAROZ facility and also 2-year community programs surrounding the Sal de Vida project. This year, we submitted our first modern slavery statement to the Australian government and conducted training on human rights to employees across the company. We also formally declare our support for the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosure. This demonstrates our continued commitment to identify and address climate risk with increased transparency. We are committed to the reduction of global greenhouse emissions and the transition of our business to achieve a net zero across our Scope 1 and 2 emissions by 2035. Moving on to our operations, starting with Mount Cattlin in Western Australia, we're on track to deliver between 210 to 220,000 tons of spodumene concentrate after 2 consecutive record-breaking production quarters. In the last quarter, we produced almost 68,000 tons of spodumene concentrate at 5.7% lithium oxide grade, in line with our customers' requirement. Excellent operational performance has been due to favorable feed grade, improving processing rates and recoveries. This also enabled us to achieve a very competitive operating cost of $351 per ton. In calendar year 22, we expect the feed grade to return to the life of mine average. By the end of the December quarter, we will ship 35,800 tons and contracting arrangements are well advanced for another 40,000 tons in January and February 2022. For the December quarter, we are seeing an indicative pricing of approximately $1,650 per ton CIF for 6% lithium oxide concentrate, more than double that of the September quarter average pricing. At OLAROZ, we continue to deliver the desired product quality to our customer. We continue to work with our COVID biosecurity protocol, which is keeping our employees safe and our business operating. In the most recent September quarter, 2,102 tons of lithium carbonate were produced, up 19% on the prior corresponding period, of which 58% was battery grade, meeting customer requirements. Sales for the September quarter were 2,622 tons of lithium carbonate, of which 61% was battery grade. Total sales revenue of $24.5 million was up 13% for the quarter and up 133% from the prior corresponding period. The lithium market remains robust and pricing momentum continues. Budgeted financial year 22 production is fully contracted and the majority is subject to market index pricing. Moving on to the development assets, progress to date will see the delivery of both OLAROZ Stage 2 and NARAMA in 2022. Construction work on Stage 2 has been adapted to COVID-19 restrictions. We have cautiously increased the workforce to more than 780 people on site in a controlled manner. Overall plant construction is now at 63% completion with most infrastructure in place. Nearly 88% of ponds are built and the soda ash and carbonation plants at 29% and 36% complete respectively. We now have 2 line plants operational and a third under construction, which will significantly deliver increased capacity as we pump more brine to feed the expanded pond system. Construction, commissioning, and operation of assets associated with brine handling and concentration are progressing in line with the project master schedule. OLAROZ 2 is expected to be completed in mid-calendar year 22, with commissioning to commence on the following half. We continue to review COVID-19 and inflationary cost pressures, as well as the project schedule for the strategic review during the first quarter of next year. We expect production of primary grade lithium carbonate will ramp up over 2 years, taking OLAROZ capacity to over 40,000 tons per annum. Construction activities at the NARAMA lithium hydroxide plant are now mostly complete despite COVID-19 related delays. Wet testing of key components is underway and international technical support is on site after being delayed by COVID-19 travel restrictions. Site training and pre-commissioning works have commenced and feedstock is being delivered from the OLAROZ Stage 1 in anticipation of commissioning, which is expected to commence in Q1 calendar year 22. Conversion costs, excluding primary grade lithium carbonate feedstock costs, are estimated at approximately $1,500 per ton, leaving us more than a decent margin to upgrade our technical product from OLAROZ. Moving on to Sal de Vida, where the liners for the evaporation ponds have largely been delivered to site and the earthwork and liner contractors have mobilized equipment in anticipation of final permitting by year end. All production wells have been completed for Stage 1 and brine pump testing has been performed on the majority of the wells. The on-site piloting program has been running this year to support operational readiness for Stage 1 production. In the September quarter, approximately 1 ton of lithium carbonate was produced and 85% of this product met battery grade specification. These results demonstrate improvements against prior runs. At the Janesville project, work is continuing to finalize the feasibility study. The preliminary economic assessment released earlier this year details a long life, 330,000 tons per annum spodumene operation in Quebec, Canada, utilizing hydropower where possible. This project is strategically located near high EV growth regions and will play a very important role in the North American market. Global EV sales remain robust and will become revolutionary across the globe as major economies make significant commitments to a net zero future through their energy supply and transport. We are seeing penalties applied to auto manufacturers for producing internal combustion engines, and governments offering subsidies to consumers to purchase electric vehicles and improve battery technology, helping EVs to reach price parity with an ICE vehicle. New supply, particularly for lithium, is critical to meet this market demand. There has been significant build-out of capacity through the lithium-ion supply chain, and relationship and contracts have been reinforced in anticipation of a structural supply deficit. As you can see on the graph at the right from Benchmark Minerals, even when you include all known existing projects, they are unable to meet the forecast demand. Market participants are already experiencing the pressure of supply shortages, which is directly impact the pricing momentum we are witnessing. The weighted average price of lithium carbonate and lithium hydroxide was up year to date by approximately 200% at the end of October, and market researchers are forecasting sustained elevated product pricing. Our customers are showing strong preference to enter into long-term supply agreements, which provides our business larger stability. Integration of Galaxy and Orocobre is mostly complete, and now you can see we are focused on delivering sustainable operation and development growth pipeline, which is unparalleled as it gives us product flexibility, scale to meet current and future demand. We retain a very strong financial position with cash flow positive operations and a number of project finance opportunities. A strategic review of development projects is underway with an update due in the first quarter of next year. We will provide further detail around how we are planning to deliver our growth assets as the industry supply and demand profile towards 2030 is very supportive of developing projects as soon as possible. Thank you all, and I will now move on to questions.
Question one is, financial year 21 was a dreadful year for Orocobre with a loss of $86 million. While lithium prices were rock bottom for much of the year, a major factor was the income tax expense of $68 million. ASA appreciates the detailed explanation that has been given for this item. However, what is the likelihood of a similar expense being incurred in future? Maybe our CFO could quickly answer that question. Are you okay for that, Neil?
Yes, thanks, Martin. First up, I'd say that it is a book entry. There's no cash flow that's occurred from this entry that was passed. There's approximately, of the $68 million charge, there's $50 million that relates to the uplift in the tax rate. So we don't expect another uplift in tax rate to occur. This was legislated in the middle of June, and it pushed the tax rate from 25% to 35%. Hence, we had to book approximately $50 million. The balance of it comes from foreign exchange and foreign exchange on hyperinflation. FY21 had an inflation of approximately 50%. We've seen in prior years that often it's not in the 50% range, and it's been in the 25% or 30% range. So there was a substantial charge coming out of the hyperinflation charge. And there are tax mechanisms within Argentina that ensures you've got to pass these adjustments. There also are assessed losses that are carried forward that do pick up devaluation. However, that charge is not substantial.
Thanks, Neil. Next question is, given that Galaxy and Orocobre were two very different companies, what steps is the CEO taking to achieve a unified Allchem culture in its operations scattered through Canada, Japan, WA and Argentina? I'll start off by answering that, and then you can complete with your answer, Martin. Martin and I speak every week. We schedule a call every Thursday, and we discuss all aspects about the merger and the operations of the company. It has been a little bit difficult because Martin hasn't been able to travel to Australia, for example, but I know that he's traveled to Canada quite often. So Specifically, Martin, would you like to add what other steps you've been taking?
Yes, Martin, thank you very much. First, from an office organization point of view, we remain the head office in Argentina, where we hold the largest amount of assets and the largest risk exposure of the company. We maintain the office in Perth that it's basically in charge of continuing to run the Mount Cattlin operation in a safe and profitable way. And we keep our corporate headquarters in Brisbane, Australia. The organization has been arranged around the assets of the company to build enough muscle so that the asset managers can deliver on the projects. As said throughout the presentation, it is very important that we deliver on the projects that we have on stream. So, for example, in the case of Argentina, Health and Porter managing Sal de Vida and OLAROZ is able to cross-fertilize and apply the synergies of the already learned experiences from OLAROZ into Sal de Vida, and vice versa with regards to Sal de Vida technical improvements coming from the Sal de Vida team into OLAROZ operations. Something similar is being done between the Canadian team and the Perth team, since both assets are hard rock based, and we're working in an integrated way between both assets, and also keeping a close eye on the evolution of all of the different risk parameters that impact on our operation. As Martin was mentioning, COVID has restricted some of the travel, but I keep regular contact with all the management team across the board using different technological platforms, and we meet on one-on-ones and team meetings more than twice or 3 times a week, and keep a very close contact with the Canadian team, since I've been able to travel quite often there and quite often to the operations in Argentina, to ensure that all the values and the culture of both companies is being well rolled out across the operations.
Thank you, Martin. The next question is, pre-merger, Orocobre had approximately 13,980 shareholders. What is the number after the merger? The answer to that is 40,350 shareholders as of yesterday. I think there'll probably be an exercise required to try and clean that register up for small parcels of shares sometime in the future. Next question, is a New York Stock Exchange listing being contemplated? The answer to that is it has always been contemplated. At the moment, the exchanges that the Orocobre, now Allchem shares can trade on, being Australia and and the TSX, provide sufficient liquidity and value, but we're always open to looking at where the most appropriate exchange. So we'll keep that option open and we continue to look at it. My personal view is our market cap needs to be a little bit higher before we get enough attention on the New York Stock Exchange. So we keep the option open. The next question is, the large vote against the remuneration performance rights may be because shareholders have been kept in the dark about the progress and performance of the company. The frequency of communication to shareholders on these topics should be more frequent. Can you please explain what you will do about this? Look, I could add there that, look, I think the IR strategy of Orocobre was somewhat deficient. It was before the merger, they were in a period of a poor market, and I think that they were concentrating on maintaining the integrity of the business. We have been busy with the merger after obviously after the announcement of the merger and the completion. We've been busy making sure that the merger was completed satisfactorily. I think the IT will become a focus of the company going forward, and we're getting improving the number of people that work for us throughout the world, and it will become a better focus. The next question is, why have permits for pond construction for SDV not been completed? How does it impact the original timeline, especially considering peak evaporation period over summer? Martin, maybe you could answer that one. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Martin. As said before, we are getting ready for construction and expecting to obtain the permits before year end, and we are reviewing the timing of the permits and the progress of the construction of the ponds that will be part of the market review that we are going to give on all of the assets in the first quarter of next year.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, with the world now in the start of long-term lithium production deficit and global battery maker demand for supply going rapidly ballistic, why is it that the sales pricing of all Orocobre lithium production has not already been tied directly to current market rates, instead of being sold on long-term non-current market rate pricing contracts? Sorry, Martin, that's another one for you.
Yes, thank you, Martin. It is important to understand that the spot markets do not always reflect the bulk of the contract of the market. Bulk of the market is a contractual market where most of the customers contract, particularly battery grade battery producers contract battery grade product in long-term supply agreements. They require product qualification that usually takes between 12 to 18 months. So when you look at the Chinese spot market prices, it's a price on the margin. It's always published with the Chinese VAT included. That has to be deducted, and as said before, it only reflects a small portion of the market which is on the margin. The bulk of the market is a contractual market where most of the contracts are being placed. In the case of Orocobre, what we have done is slightly evolved into repricing our contracts with different periodicity, and some of them have monthly repricing, some others have biannual repricing, some others have quarterly repricing, and based on that we come to an average of contracts that for next year will better reflect the evolution of the market price, as most of our contracts are being indexed.
Thank you, Martin. Next question, are there any plans to restart exploration around Mount Cattlin, especially taking advantage of the tracker tenements purchased? What are the probabilities of a resource upgrade assuming further exploration? I can answer that one. I think with the current pricing and the forecast pricing for spodumene, the potential for Mount Cattlin is better for an extended underground operation. So the exploration we will be doing will be concentrating on the extension of the current ore body and any further ore bodies further underground. The next question is, the merger was announced to the market April 2021. Assumed due diligence was conducted for multiple months before that. In light of that, why is it taking so long for the strategic review of the development projects? I thought one of the main reasons for the merger was to accelerate the timeline of these projects. I'll start answering that. Look, I think that the projects have been progressing as fast as they possibly could in the light of approval requirements. One of the main reasons we did the merger was there was an established experienced workforce in Argentina already at the OLAROZ operations, which you could use for Sal de Vida. That's happening now. And the delay has been caused, if there's any delay, is by procedural matters in terms of approvals. Martin, would you like to add to that anything?
So just reinforce that, Martin. The team is working to move forward the projects as quickly as possible and cross-fertilizing on the experiences from both sides. This is strategic review. It's a more broader review of all the projects that we have ahead of us and how do we plan to grow the company. It's not affecting any one of the assets in particular. Assets are being moved as quickly as possible so that we can achieve production in line with the market demand.
Next question is, given the long-term growth prospects, is now the right time to consider bolting on another Australian junior while they are relatively cheap? I'll answer that. I mean, we always look at M&A opportunities. We have to make sure that we prioritise the excellent assets we already have and what other potential assets can be acquired. But we're open to M&A opportunities that suit our growth profile. Next question is, we are seeing tremendous growth in electric vehicles all over the world. Following the merger and given the new assets that Orocobre now has, can Orocobre take advantage of this tremendous opportunity that the structural change in the world economy presents? The answer is yes. We have a fantastic opportunity. We are a company which has no legacy mining assets like other mining companies. Our assets are all growth assets in the lithium sector. that makes us uniquely placed to be able to participate in what we see as being the extraordinary growth in the EV sector and the rest of the world in terms of electrification. I think that's the end of the questions. Are there any more questions from anyone? If not, I would like to thank everyone who participated in today's meeting. Thank you for your support in approving all of the resolutions, particularly the name change to Allkem, representing the new focus that this merged company has. Subject to ASIC and ASX approvals, we expect to commence trading under the new name and the ticker AKE next week. If I could just add here, I think that I saw today that Orocobre is trading at record prices. I think that reflects the fact that the merger was well thought out, was implemented well. The merger since then has gone well in terms of the relationship between the two groups. What's most important, and the thing is if anything is going to slow down the growth opportunities we have, it's people. So we work very hard on making sure that all our people are happy, enjoy their position, are satisfied with what they get paid, and will participate in the growth of the company by the success the shareholders have will also be reflected in what they receive as successful performance rights, etc. The company has a clear path to easily get well over 100,000 metric tonne of LCE equivalent production. That's what we're working on. We're well financed. We have a balance sheet that can absorb other things that we might want to acquire that suit our criteria of growth. So as shareholders of the company, you should be well pleased at where you're positioned and the future potential of the company under the leadership that we have. So with that in mind, I would, and if there aren't any further queries or questions, I'd like to say goodbye to everyone. And if you have any other questions that you have that might arise as you're thinking about your investment, please contact our investor relations people, and they can give you clear and concise answers. Thank you and goodbye to everyone. Thank you.